Hello everybody and welcome to another video. In this video it's going to be another review, and I'm going to be reviewing all of my 1 to 400 die-cast scale model aircraft. Now this is a video that was requested by Mr. Chickenn a few months ago, I can't even remember where it was now, it was in the summer I think, and I actually forgot about it and decided to do it now because I have time on my hands and it's a Sunday night and I thought why the hell not. This is, as I said, just 1 to 400 models. I have unboxed almost every single 1 to 400 model which I own on the channel. There's one. In fact, no, there's two which I haven't, but there's only one I'm going to be showing for reasons I'll say in a second. This is going to be all my 1 to 400 models. It's going to be in the chronological order that I got them in. So I was originally going to do it in a ranked system because there's some models which I think are good, some models I think are bad. I thought, oh, I've got to do a ranked system of which ones I think are best and which ones I don't. But there's basically the ones I don't like, the ones I do like, and then all the ones in the middle are just there. So. Well, not meh, but like there's no real like difference in quality, if you know what I mean. Like there's not really any difference really. But I thought I'd just show you this here. This isn't actually what I'm going to be doing the unboxing video, but this is just all of my model aircraft which I have on top of my cupboard here. I'm actually hopefully going to be getting rid of this cupboard soon because there's actually nothing in it. But this is just where I store all of my planes. I actually have some in another cupboard, and if I'll show you that, that's my Airbus poster over there. If you're wondering what that's from, got that from a magazine. But yeah, all of these aircraft I'll be unboxing. Not that I count because that's 1 to 500. So yeah, not all of the ones I've unboxed are 1 to 400, but I'm going to be going through all the ones which are 1 to 400. So the first one is the Aeroclassics Air Transat Airbus A330-200. Now this was the model, the only 1 to 400 model that I'm doing, which I haven't actually unboxed. This was a model which I actually got before I even started the channel, so you never would have seen this. And I've never actually shown you this properly before, I don't think. I've mentioned it a few times, but I've never actually shown you it, so this is the video to go to now. As you can see, it's not in the best of shape, especially at the back, as you can see there. Tails completely messed up, and there's no decals on part of it, decals, however you want to say it, and the engines also are glued back on from when they actually came off, because this was a model which I did not really take care of. I'm not actually going to be going through the pros and cons of this model simply because I've basically destroyed all the evidence that's good about it. I actually found out this was Aeroclassics. I thought it was Phoenix, but it's actually Aeroclassics. I've managed to track one down, and it's about £40 I think, so I might get another one and maybe actually unbox it and review it properly later on. But pretty happy with this model, other than the things that I've done wrong with it. You can see all of the wheels have come off there, and that's got dust on one of them, but for some reason not on the front wheel. I don't know why, but that's just how it's happened. But yeah, other than that, this does seem like it was quite a good model before he absolutely butchered it. As you can see on the back, the tailplane, I managed to rip those off. I believe I still have them. I'm not going to get them because I'll take forever trying to find them, and I can't exactly remember where they are. So yeah, they were gone, but yeah, I've tried to repair it as much as possible. I believe I ripped them off, and I can't actually put them back on again just because the way that they're put in, but as I said, not going to be reviewing this simply because this plane is very destroyed. So the next model is the Gemini Jets British Airways Hawker Siddeley Trident 2E. Now this is the first 1 to 400 scale model which I actually unboxed on this channel, and it's actually one of the ones which has managed to stay together. That Air Transat one which I just showed you was actually my most broken model. This is one of the ones that's been most intact. In fact, for a while it was the only model that wasn't broken. There's quite a few things which I found good about this model. Basically everything is good with it, apart from two key areas which kind of annoy me. The first one is the wheel. I don't know if you can tell there, but that's actually bent back. It's meant to be pushed forward a little bit. As you can see, it's kind of out of line with the gear door, whatever it's called. And then on the back, you can see the red there of the Union flag on the Negus livery on this aircraft. It's actually meant to extend down to that little bump that you can see out there. If I actually point to it, if I can find it there, yeah, that there. It's meant to go down, like that red stripe you can see, it's meant to go down and actually touch that. I've actually done this aircraft in Norchester, and it's meant to go past that, and for some reason on this model they didn't do that, and that really annoys me. But apart from that, this model is quite good. I just knocked the camera by accident, and the model, yeah, it's got some quite good things with it, and as I said, there's literally nothing broken with the model. That thing with the wheel that's happened, that was done on the model, that wasn't my fault. I originally thought it was, and then I actually found the unboxing video that I did on it, and I found that it actually was broken when I got it. So yeah, kind of two drawbacks from this model, but other than that, colours are good and the model is good. So the next model is the Gemini Jets British Airways Vickers Standard VC-10. This plane has a lot less drawbacks than the Trident model which I got. I got these around the same time, and I kind of compare the quality of the two of these. This is the better quality of them. There's actually wasn't anything wrong with the model from what I could find. There is damage on it though. On the nose you might be able to see there's actually a grey sort of like round dot on the nose. What's it called? Point? Yeah, something like that. Couldn't find the word. As you can see, it's kind of rubbed off, and you can see a little bit of the blue and white underneath. I don't know if this camera will actually focus. I don't know, you might be able to tell there. It looks very blue on this camera from what I could see, but that's meant to be all grey, and it's kind of rubbed through a bit. And also the wheels actually came off as well. As you can see, there's actually meant to be, below those wheels there, 2 struts that go into the wing box, but these have actually come off. As you can see, there's 2 holes there from where they actually came off. But apart from that, this model's actually been done quite well. The only thing I will say about it is that both the engines and the wings look very chunky. As you can see, if I just lift it up there, the wings look very, very chunky. And even though the VT10's wings are chunky, I do actually have another VT10 model, which they definitely improve on that. But apart from that, the livery and everything like that is done very well on this model. Now the next aircraft is the Gemini Jets KLM Cityhopper Fokker 70. Now this model is, if I can't really think of any others, the worst model which I have. Unfortunately, this being one of my most favourite planes, isn't the best model which I have. There's quite a few things that are wrong with it, and yeah, there's not very things that are broken with it. The only broken thing that I can class it as, or damage, sorry, just up there, is on the wing. You might be able to tell. It's kind of smudged off a bit. That's because I've been holding it so much. You can kind of compare it to the other wing. That's quite smudged off, but that was my own doing. But if I just show you this side of the aircraft here, you might be able to point some things out. The first thing is that it doesn't actually have an emergency door there for some reason. They didn't print it on, and why has it gone out of focus? Go in focus, please. Go in focus, there we go. If I just turn it around, as you can see, there's an emergency door on that side. If I can actually turn it, not on that side. And then also, as well as that, the engines as well, I don't know if you can tell, but the engine on the left-hand side, has, it actually sort of goes in, whilst on the right-hand side it protrudes out more. I don't know if you can tell that, but I can definitely tell that, and in real life I can definitely tell that. Also, something which I didn't actually, I was supposed to show you, I'm also going to be judging these models on whether all of the wheels roll or not. And on this model, the front one doesn't roll, but the back ones do roll, so yeah. This model's already bad enough without them. But I mean, other than that, if you look at the aircraft on that side, it looks alright. And also don't actually don't test the wheels out whether they're rolling. Go in focus, please. Yeah, if you just look at it like that, it does look alright. The colours are alright. I don't really fault them there. It's just the actual printing of the doors and a few other things which just make this model look quite bad. Other than that, the next aircraft is the Gemini Jets Al Israel Airlines Bristol Britannia. Now this is one of the models, the first of quite a few models actually, which I just got for no reason. I don't do that now, believe me, I don't do that now. Even though I have more money now, for some reason I decided to just splash out models that I didn't really want at the time. I've seen a BOAC one, which I wish I would have got instead of this one. Maybe I can sell it, I don't know. But anyway, yeah. I thought this plane was good, but then I actually looked it up and found that the text there, that you can see, I will actually put a picture in the description because it's just the way this is going to be edited. I can't actually show you on screen, so you can just look in the description of it. That text is actually wrong. It's in the wrong font. Now, I'm guessing it's because they couldn't actually find the font that was used with this livery, because this livery is from like, the late 1950s and early 60s, so I'm guessing that they couldn't actually find the right font for it, so it's just slightly wrong, so it's more squished, and like, the actual font is much more pronounced, and the text is thinner and taller, so this is just all a bit squashed up. So, I mean, apart from that, this model is quite nice. I haven't actually found anything wrong with it. All of the wheels roll, which is, as I said, quite a major part of the model. The only damage which I know that I've done to this is on the nose. I don't know if you can see. I've actually chipped the nose a little bit, the black there. You might be able to see that. Yeah, you can kind of see it there. Well, there we go, it's actually focused, yeah. Chipped the nose by accident, but apart from that, this model's good. It also has turning props, which I do quite like. Yeah, this is actually the only prop 1-400 model which I have, I've just realised. Is it? Oh, it is. Oh yeah, I wanted to get a 1-400 Viscount, and I got a 1-500 one by mistake. But as I said, other than the problems which I outlined, quite a good model. The next model is the Gemini Jets British Airways Hawker Siddeley Trident 3B. Now this plane, which I thought was actually quite good until I've gradually been looking at the model more and more, and I've found it's actually worse. Similar to the Fokker 70 and a lot of other models, when I actually did the unboxing video back in the day, I didn't properly look at the plane and go, hang on, and look at all the problems with it. And this is one of those models. I guess I can go through the broken stuff first, because, yeah, there's one major one, and it's the fact that that wheel there's fallen off, but that was my fault. I believe I dropped it and then I couldn't find the wheel. But also, the tail. This bit of the tail kept on coming off. After that unboxing video which I did, the tail just came off. I just lifted it up like, I don't want to do it properly, I basically lifted it up like that, and the tail just came off in my hands. Didn't break at all, it was just off in my hands. That was probably in transit it came off, I'd imagine, but I don't know. So kind of deducting points with that, and I eventually had to glue it on about 3 or 4 times until it's finally stayed on now. There's other problems with the aircraft as well. The nose isn't sharp enough, it's actually sharper than that on the other Trident model which I showed you. That's how the nose should be. This one's way too rounded and just looks awful. The cockpit as well, there's just something quite wrong with it. I can't really put my finger on it, but sort of the round windows, the ones at the edge there, they're not quite in place right. They might be, but for some reason I just don't think they are. And also the Landor Speed Wing, which is the red stripe along there on the Landor livery, that's the wrong colour. It's meant to be brighter. You can probably see on the back there, that's how the red stripe, that's the colour of the red stripe that's supposed to be, and it's actually darker on the fuselage. And I know it's meant to be lighter because I've got another model which actually shows the Landor stripe being much brighter than that, which you'll see later. And also, that's how the Union flag is meant to be on the other Trident model which I was showing you, where the stripe actually goes over the little, what's that, the booster it's called? It's not actually on the Trident 2, I don't know what that is on the Trident 2, but they do have some sort of thing there. I'm guessing it's like some sort of APU, I don't know, but that's how it's meant to be. So this model is improved in some areas over the Trident 2 which I've got, and then worse in others. The next plane is the Gemini Jets Pan American Boeing 747-121. Moving from some of the smallest models which I have now to the largest. This was my largest aircraft model for quite a long time in 1/400 scale. It's not now, but it was for a while, and is still one of my biggest ones. But yeah, this model is absolutely fantastic. There's very, very few things wrong with it. In fact, I couldn't really find any problems wrong with the model, to be honest. I really like the chrome that they've done on there, like the proper silver that was on the Pan Am Ibirdball title livery back in the 1980s. There is one thing broken with this, and that's the what are they called at the end? Those little extensions, spiky, I was going to say. Yeah, them spiky extensions on the wing, as you can see on this side, it's come off. I snapped that off somehow, and then this other one, if I can actually pick up and show you properly, that's bent. Ha! Gay! That's damaged by myself again, that's nothing wrong with the model. But all of the wheels roll again on this. This model also manages to implement the wheel gear tilt that's on the, when it lands. If I just point it up like that, and a bit like that, you can kind of see there, that's how it's meant to be, and then it would just land and touch down like that. So that looks very, very nice. Glad they implemented that. I do have another model which does that better, but this is still quite admirable on this model. Hang on, what's the gearbox like? Gearbox? What am I on about? It's not a car. The centre wing tank box. Wing box, that's it. Yeah, for some reason I thought that was wrong. At the front it's kind of, yeah, that's bearable, and then at the back it's very, very nice because it actually just merged straight into the fuselage, as it does on the actual 747 itself. So yeah, as I said, very, very few things wrong with this model, apart from those problems which I kind of inflicted on it myself, and possibly you could kind of deduct things for that, but that's a very, very minor issue. Yeah, definitely one of the best models which I have, biggest, best, goes very well. The next model is the Gemini Jets Delta Airlines Boeing 737-932ER with winglets. I'm going from one of the best models which I have to one of the worst. If the Fokker 7E isn't the worst model, then this one certainly is. I did manage to break this one on the tail. I've had to repair that because I've broken that off quite a few times. But yeah, again, that was when I wasn't really taking care of my models. But this plane is, at first when I got it, like this was another plane which I just decided to get randomly. In fact, I think I even saw it in a magazine and thought, I'm going to get that. Don't know why, but that's just how I thought back then. But yeah, this is one of the worst models which I have, because that wing is done completely wrong. As you can see, that curves way too much, and then on this side, it's straight. Ha! Gay! At first I thought that was alright, but then I noticed that, and now that really annoys me. Also the winglets on this side, that were way too vertical, and on the other side it's fine. Again, some of these issues look minor, but they end up just creating an overall feel of the model that's quite bad. Also, the nose as well is less rounded. But I mean, these problems I didn't actually think were a problem on the model until I got another 737 model by the same manufacturer, actually, by Gemini Jets, and it's massively better over this one. So I don't know how they really screwed that up. It also has special colours on it, not special colours, special titles at the front, which has about the Delta founder, I think. And speaking of colours, that widget on the back is too dark. That is too dark, and that is not dark enough. Not dark enough, not bright enough. So yeah, this is a very kind of like half put together model, it seems like. Wings done quite wrong, problems in other areas, colours in some places aren't right. White? Yeah, not white. You know what I mean? Doesn't really work as a model, to be honest. And oh yeah, the wheels as well. Front ones roll, and this back one here doesn't roll, but that one does, so just another part of the model which is making it one of the worst ones which I have, unfortunately. The next model is the Corgi British Airways Concorde. Now this model I haven't actually taken it out of its stand here, and that's half the reason why I don't really like this model that much, because it's an absolute pain to try and get it in that stand. I can get it out easily, but trying to get it in is an absolute pain. So yeah, that's kind of a bad thing about this. Also on the back as well, one of the major aspects which they forgot, you can see that black there. That's what I've actually painted on. That's why it looks kind of haphazardly put on. That's because I painted it on. This didn't actually come with the black on the back of the engines, which is a massive mistake. That is one of the most recognisable parts of Concorde, is it actually has black bits at the back of the engines that, like, by that much. Again, this model isn't exactly the best one which I have, but I mean the wings are done quite well, I will say that. I do, on a lot of my Concorde models, actually that's a really good view of it there, on a lot of my Concorde models I do criticise the way that the wings have done, and this is actually one of the best sort of wing shapes that are there. That is much better than some of the other ones I have. Wing doesn't exactly connect that well to the fuselage, but it's better than some of the other ones which I have. Nose isn't really like that pointy in my opinion. It looks too rounded at the front, and the windows are kind of small. Like the colours of British Airways are alright. That chip there I think was done by me, so yeah, only damage to this model I think that is on there. But yeah, this is really kind of a fantasy model. It's not really designed to be absolutely accurate, so this only kind of technically fits on the list. I'm kind of only putting it on here because it's almost trying to actually represent what the model actually is. Unlike another Concorde model, which I actually was supposed to show you earlier. Yeah, this is the fantasy model. I was going to show you that earlier and say that's not going to be in the thing. Yeah, not doing that one, but yeah. This one was trying to do it and didn't really work. The next aircraft is the Gemini Jets British Airways Boeing 777-236ER. Now this is one of the actual best models which I have, because there's barely anything wrong with it. The only real thing that's wrong with it is the wheels here. If I can just show you, they are kind of bent. You might be able to tell that. That they're not quite straight, but apart from that there is very few things wrong with it. The colours are completely right, the rest of the model is fine. You could say that the wing box has been put on a little bit, like, what's the word? I can't think of the word, you know what I mean, like haphazardly, I don't know, where it's not been attached properly, and you can see the marks around it. There's some gaps at the back, but they're covered by the fact that it's actually got a dark underside, so you can't really see that, so it's nicely concealed. But as I said, there is very few problems with this. That is the only one though which I'd really pick out. Livery is done very well. The mould itself is done very well. If you can find this, I recommend picking it up because it is definitely a very good 777 model by Gemini Jets. The next aircraft is the Limox Wings Airbus A350 prototype in the special carbon fibre colours. This one is another kind of fantasy model that doesn't have a registration, and the model itself is very good. It's actually, part of it is made of plastic, unlike some of my other models here. The fuselage is the only bit that's made of metal, but the engines, the rudder and tailplane, they're all made of plastic. I actually recently just broke this model, if I can find the stand, there we go. You might be able to tell, yeah, there's one large crack that I've had to repair, and also the engine came off as well. So I actually tried recording this before, and I'm having to record it again because the file corrupted, and this literally happened just after I recorded. I actually broke it. This model is actually alright, apart from at the back there. I'm actually going to pick this up for fear of breaking it again, but can you see that white bit that seems to protrude out randomly on the wing box? I actually know that's wrong, because if I just move my light up here, you can see up there on that poster which I have of this exact same plane, the carbon fibre kind of colours and grey and black go down onto that wing box, but on this model it doesn't. So apart from the fact it's broken, that was the only downside of this model. I'm sorry you keep on seeing that stuff there, oh my god. Very big mess. This model is quite good otherwise. I have actually seen a Phoenix one of this, which I might get, considering that it's actually got wheels, and this one's just one on the stand, but considering this is my only one of Limox wings and I've never heard of them before, they did really do a good job on it. The next aircraft is the Gemini Jets British Airways Boeing 737-236 Advanced. Again, this is another model which I didn't actually fully want, but I was actually given this model, so I can't really complain there. I didn't actually ask for it, but I got it. It's still quite a nice model anyway. There is one bit of damage which I've done to this, which is I actually chipped the nose, as you can see there, because I dropped it, I believe. I can't remember exactly how I actually broke it, but yeah, I damaged that. Now, there are a couple of problems with this model. Livery, overall, I quite like, but there's a few major issues actually. The first one is that none of the wheels here roll, and also it's the livery itself. Now, as you can see, there is a separation there of a straight line between the grey and the blue on the Negus and Negus livery, And if you turn it over, you can see at the back there, look how wavy that is. That is incredibly, I mean, it doesn't even have to focus if it ever will focus. It doesn't even have to focus for you to be able to see properly that is absolutely terrible. So there's that, and also at the front it's kind of wavy as well. It's not that noticeable as the back, but the back is just the worst offender for it. But I mean, apart from those two problems, I do quite like this. They actually made the Negus and Negus red on the tail actually bright. The Negus and Negus, the Union Jack on the tail. Sorry, that's my hand going across there. But yeah, they actually made it brighter than they have on some other models, which I quite like. The big bold British text, it's been done nicely overall, and also yeah, the detail of it, like the little Super 737 titles down there, which again, it's been done quite nicely, but it seems like that they went all in for the detail on other areas, and then basically forgot how to do the main basic parts of the model, which is actually make the wheels roll and do the livery properly. The next aircraft is the Hogan Wings Boeing 777-300ER in some fantasy Dreamliner colours. These colours never actually existed because the actual Boeing 777-300ER prototype had these worldwide colours on it. It was in the old Boeing scheme before they changed to the Dreamliner scheme. I kind of like that one, but this is a kind of fantasy model by Hogan Wings, so it doesn't actually have a registration. I believe China Airlines did an aircraft like this, but that might have been a 747. I don't know, but one airline has done it in Asia somewhere. But yeah, this is a model which I do quite like. Despite it being fantasy, another one which I got for Christmas. But there are a couple of things wrong with it, but I'll go through the pros of the model first. The first one is, on a number of models you'll see this, is the first one where it's actually got see-through engines. They've actually managed to model the proper fan blades on there, so you can see right through them, as you can now on planes like the A320neo. Overall, I like the colours of it, and the model itself has been done well. There are, like the, what was that other model, the A350, some parts are plastic. I believe the engine, definitely the engines are plastic, and oh, that's not a good sign. Yeah, I believe everything else is metal, but yeah, there are a couple of downsides to this. The first one is that, again, none of the wheels roll, and the second one is that all of the windows are way too light grey for my liking. They should be much more black than that. The cockpit just looks way too bright, and the windows much less, but I believe they could still do with some darkening. But the cockpit is where it's also most noticeable. You may be wondering where the wheels have gone on this. So do I, because I have no idea when or why they came off, because these are pretty solid wheels. They don't actually roll, so I don't understand how they came off. So the ones that have come off is that one on the front wheel there, and then one on that hind wheel back there. Somehow they've all just fallen off. I don't know, again, how that happened. This model is, like, overall pretty good. It's not really one which I really want right now, so I might do a video in the future showing all the models that I don't want, so if you want to buy one, I might put them up for sale. The next aircraft is the Aeroclassics British Airways Vickers Super VC-10. Now, this is the second VC-10 which I own, as I did say when I reviewed the Gemini Jets model earlier. This one does have some improvements over the Gemini Jets one. So, like, for example, when I said on the Gemini Jets one that the wings were very chunky, on this one they are much less chunky, and they represent the VC-10 a lot better. Also, the engines are less chunky as well, which, I don't know, I think they could do... you couldn't even see them then. I believe they could do with a little bit more chunkiness, if you will. But, yeah, they are still fine as they are. But the wings overall are much better than the Gemini Jets one. However, that's kind of where the best things about this model end, because there's still quite a few which is actually makes this model worse than that one. For a start, again, none of the wheels roll. I don't know why a bunch of these models don't have any wheels that are rolling. The point on the nose, it's meant to be dark grey and not black. There's also a bunch of other problems as well with the actual aircraft. One of them is if you actually have a look at the engines there. On one side, the engines are kind of straight down like they are on this side, and on the other one, they're way more pointed up. They should be further down. In fact, you can kind of see it like that. You can see it much better there, that those are flatter and these ones are way too high. They should be further down, sort of like there. I don't want to push it too hard. But as you can see, they are too high. Also on the tail, there's been a bunch of things broken with this model. Other than that Air Transat A330, this is probably one of my most broken models. That tail keeps on coming off, as you can see. I've had to glue that on quite a few times. And also, the wings, the entirety of the wings have just come off. Just completely. So basically, well, the way that they've done this is that the wings and these wheels are entirely attached to this section here, and it's attached to underneath the fuselage. They have just completely separated. I don't know why. It seems incredibly sturdy, but that's completely separated. Also, none of the wheels touch properly as well. So if I actually show you down here, and I just bring this forward, sorry for that in the background again, if I just bring it this way, as you can see, the front wheel, only one of the wheel touches, and at the back, the wheels don't touch properly either. They just float in the air from the back. So, although the colours are a bit better on this one, the Negus scheme is brighter, but not the front. This is still a worse model in my mind, because although there is some improvements, all of the things that have gone wrong here were not wrong at all on the Gemini Jets one. So this is another one of my worst models, but this is one of the worst models which I can kind of forget about the bad things, simply because it is a rare aircraft model that I have. The next aircraft is the Gemini Jets British Airways or Comair Boeing 737-800. This one is the better 737 that I was on about earlier when talking about the Delta one. This is the one which actually does it properly. For a start, the nose is pointy and done well. Also, all of the wheels roll, I do believe. Do they all roll? Let me check. They do. Didn't quite know that. That just makes it even better. So yeah, all of them roll. The winglets are angled properly compared to the Delta one. The wings as well. Remember when I said that that one was all curved? This one is straight in how it's supposed to be on the 737. There's also... what were the other things that was wrong with the other one? I can't exactly remember. Oh yeah, the colours are right on this one as well. The only thing that's really wrong with this model is the fact that I've smudged off the spoilers that are on the wings there, because yeah, that was when I was taking less care of my models, but I do take a lot more care now. Also, does the Delta one have the, what are these called, the aerials on it? I don't think it does. No, but I was wrong, it does actually have it. I actually found out that this model came out before the Delta one was released as well, so that's just another thing against that model and another thing towards this one. The fact that they can get this right and then go downhill later. Yeah, there's a few models, like with the manufacturers, that one model from 5 years ago will be really great and then they make it worse, because that's just how they seem to work. But apparently, yeah, this model is unexpectedly one of the best models that I have, according to my criteria. I didn't think it was going to be, but I'm guessing now it's in my top 5 models, which I believe I said about earlier. I don't know if I did. I might say it later. It's just like the third day of recording because a bunch of my files are corrupting. More on that later, I think. Now, the next aircraft is the Hogan Wings Boeing 747-8 Intercontinental prototype with the special sunrise scheme. Now, this livery was basically the house colours that they had for this plane, and they do look very, very nice. This is actually one of the models, you know how I said before on some of the other models, I'm like, oh, there's models that I got which I didn't properly actually want. This one, I don't want at all, because I already have a 747 now, a UPS one, and I don't know whether this one's better or not. It's a pretty good, nice model. As I said, the livery was done very, very well. This one's actually been up in my attic for about a year and a half. I basically put it up there just like a few weeks after I unboxed it, so I was like, no, I don't really want it. Like the 777 that I got, because it's kind of the same, well, it's the same manufacturer. So you can see through the engines, which is very nice. The GENXs off of the 787. None of the wheels roll, unfortunately, like the 777, but they do have some nice gear tilt. God, the dust on this, good grief. As I said, it's been up there for about a year and a half. The wing flex is actually a lot more than the UPS 747, which I have, which I'll be showing in a minute. So as you can see, it's quite a lot there. The only thing that I think I broke with this was I remember one engine fell off. What engine was it? I don't even know what engine it was, because as I said, oh yeah, it's that one. Might be able to see, that's kind of glued back on. The number 4 engine. I accidentally broke off and managed to stick back on, so if anybody wants this model, then they can have it. I don't really want it. And again, it's kind of the same criticisms as the 777, which I did. The fact that the windows and the cockpit windows, they're way too light grey. They should be a lot darker than that, but other than that, I do very, very, very like this model as it is. But as I've said, it's not really one which I really, really wanted and still don't want now. The next aircraft is the British Airways Express British Aerospace 146-200. Now, this is the first of the rare models that I've now started getting. The Trident 3 I thought was a rare model, and then I found out that it actually wasn't. This one is kind of semi-rare. They're starting to circulate a bit again, but I'm going to class this as rare. But at the time, I definitely thought it was rare, and then eventually found it kind of cheap. But this model is... I've got a bunch of them that have come out around 2007 time, and this seems to be one of the best from that time. The model itself, like the actual mould, is absolutely fantastic. I can't really fault it there. It's got incredible detail on it, including even the wing lights. On there you might be able to see if I bring it up into the light. I do have quite a few criticisms of this model, and oh, is it about to break? Wait a second. Oh, no, it's not, but you can kind of see on there, that right tailplane is the one that keeps on coming off. Again, I don't know what it is with the tailplanes of small planes that keep on coming off. Don't know why they keep on coming off, but they apparently do. But the only thing on the livery and things like that, which I'm criticising. Well, not just the livery, but there's certain other things as well. On the livery, the land or speed wing, again, like the Trident, is wrong, but there's a different aircraft which I will review later where it's actually right. Another thing is it keeps on going back on its tail, which keeps on annoying me, and the problem is probably because, for one, all of the wheels don't roll. The front one kind of rolls, they roll, and, oh no, apparently they all do roll. I was mistaken, but if I just bring this back a second, you'll see some more problems with it, which is the, and that's way too far back, it's that wheel there on the left-hand side of the aircraft doesn't actually touch the ground. Only one wheel touches. It's a bit like that Super VC10 of Aeroclassics. So not all of the wheels touch, and the livery is wrong. But apart from that, the mould is actually okay. The nose does seem to be a little bit too pointy, but again, that might just be me thinking that it could be completely right. But as I said, very, very, very few things other than that to fault this model on. Definitely one of the better ones which I have, but it's really annoying that it keeps on doing that. The next aircraft is the Gemini Jets Thomas Cook Airlines Airbus A321-211 with winglets. This takes the third spot as my third best model that I own. And at the time I didn't actually really think that. For one, it has nothing broken with it, so that's points down for durability. But that's kind of, I just got this model, played around with it a bit, and then just put it away. But still, this model is very good. I can literally not fault the livery in any way at all. The livery is perfect, which is, there's very few models which actually do that. They got the livery absolutely on point with this. But there's a couple of things which I kind of want to mention. The first one is that the engines, I don't know if it's me, but I swear the engine on the right or left bends in. One of them seems to bend in, and I can never tell which one it is, but one of them does seem to do that. Also, the wheel is kind of a bit horrific on the front. It doesn't really look good on the front. The wheels are way too wide, and also it doesn't look good on the side either. It looks just way too chunky. And the cockpit glass as well is actually, at first I thought it was bad, but then I've been looking at it recently and going, no, the cockpit glass is fine. It's actually much closer to the actual design of the Airbus cockpit than other Airbus planes that I've seen with Gemini Jets trying to attempt to do, but this one, they did do quite a good job on it. All of the wheels roll on this, which is just another bonus. It's, yeah, definitely takes the third spot in my model list. As I said, I don't rank loads of these, but I do like a top 5 kind of thing. And this takes third place because it is, yeah, it does have some problems with it, but the livery is absolutely on point, and there's very minimal things wrong with the aircraft itself. Basically, if you just minus the front bit, then that aircraft's perfect. The next aircraft is the Gemini Jets Continental Airlines McDonnell Douglas MD-82. This plane I thought was quite well done until I found a couple of problems with it. The first one is that on the nose, I don't know if you can tell, but it's way too pointy. It should be much more rounder than that. It's like not pointy. Well, that and combined with the fact that it's too flat on the top, I think that's what the problem with it is. And the cockpit seems a bit off. Also, the wheel at the front, it keeps on coming off. I'm not going to count that as damage because the wheel should be able to stay on, and it doesn't. The wheel just doesn't stay on the model. If you actually just roll it straight, it's fine. But if you actually turn it whilst it's on the ground, I'm not going to do it because it'll come off. But if you turn it, then it comes off. As I said, I'm not going to count that as damage because I didn't actually cause that. That was their own fault, the way that worked. And also the tail as well, something was my fault. I accidentally knocked out the tail. And it can't actually slot back into place properly. If I just lift up the camera, you can see better. There, you might be able to see, that's off. That's because I knocked it out and I can't get it back in. So I don't know whether I should count that as my own damage or their damage, and the wheel is just gone a bit weird, there we go. But yeah, that's just another thing about it. So, thought this model was good. Like, other than that, the model is quite well done. I do quite like the colours on this Continental MD-82. The model itself and the colours are done very well, but other than the couple of other problems which I've mentioned, it is a good model, but yeah, not good enough to bring it up into my sort of like top 5 spot, if you will. The next model is the Dragon Wings Balair Boeing 767-300ER. Now, Dragon Wings are like that Limox Wings A350 which I got, in the fact that their wings and other tail surfaces are plastic and the fuselage is actually metal. But other than that, this model is kind of mediocre, basically because the wheels, for one, don't roll. They're like really, really, I mean, they're modelled well, but they're not very sturdy at all. You might be able to tell that I can actually move this. You can kind of see that. And also these back ones, I believe it's that one on the left there, that actually just keeps on coming off all of the time. And it's really, really, really annoying. So again, I'm not going to count that as my damage because if it keeps on coming off when I'm not moving it really that much at all, then that's their problem. Also the nose, I can't really put my finger on it, but the nose doesn't look quite right. I believe it's a bit too rounded, I don't know. Again, that might just be me. I think some of these are just me. But I mean, apart from that, this does look quite a nice model. The colours are done very well. I do like the sort of indented effects that they have on the tail there. That you can see if I put it into the glare of the light. But yeah, if you don't know, Balair was actually an arm of Swissair, and then it was bought by Air Berlin. It was only shut down, or then became Belair, and then it was only shut down when Air Berlin ceased operations at the end of last year, which was almost a year ago. The next aircraft is the Gemini Jets Hapag-Lloyd Boeing 737-800. Now the reason why I've actually moved away from my desk here, if I just, ooh, I didn't mean to move the model there. Oh god, it's going to break, and I moved the camera out for some reason. Yeah. The reason why I'm filming it here is the fact that this model is very, very prone to breaking if you move it. That wheel there, which you can see, the one that's closest to the camera, has fallen off a bunch of times, and it's broken in such a way that trying to stick it back on is an absolute nightmare, and if you try and move it, it breaks really easily. That's my damage, but yeah, that's just the way this model's had to work. I mean, this model is quite old. It came out in 2001, I believe, so yeah, some of the things that I could critique it on aren't really as valid, because it's just the practices that were done at the time. I don't know if you can see it, if I can actually just, if I do that to the camera, can you see? But the wings, not the wings, the tailplane at the back, you might just be able to see it actually is slotted in as one whole thing, as opposed to other models, like these ones down here, for example. If I find one, of course they're all T-tails, yeah, that Viscount down there, they're slotted in at the sides, but this one's slotted in from the back, so, but yeah, that was just what they did at the time, and also the winglets are much shorter than they are supposed to be. If I can actually move it around a little bit, yeah, I mean, other than that, also the engines as well, they're really flat on the bottom. I don't know if you can see that. But they're incredibly flat on the bottom, but again, that's just the practices that were done at the time. Livery is quite nice. This was one which I actually picked up at Duxford. In fact, the last couple of these, including that MD-82 and that 767, I actually got at Duxford in a little model shop there. So yeah, this was a model which kind of didn't really need, but is kind of alright, happy with it. The next model is the Gemini Jets Air Canada Boeing 787-8 in the new livery. Now here she is herself. The top model which I have, #1 spot, this is the best model which I have. The only thing that's wrong with this model is that not all of the wheels roll, but apart from that, this model is absolutely perfect in every single way, especially since if I put a picture in the description as well, that was the Phoenix model. There's a Phoenix model done with this, and the black was basically green, and the red was as dark as those speed wings, which I said were the wrong colour earlier on those other aircraft. That was the colour of it. It was absolutely terrible. But this Gemini Jets model, which again, as I said, I keep on criticising Gemini Jets for having really inconsistent quality. This was the time which they really put out all the stops and made a massive good job on this model here. So I mean, like the model itself, there's absolutely nothing wrong with the model itself. Nose is done correctly. They've got the livery absolutely spot on. Engines as well are done very nicely. Got some nice curves. The wings quite curved nicely. The only damage which is done on here is that there's a few paint chips. But that's on quite a lot of models here, because yeah, if I'm just like moving around, sometimes I'll chip it by accident. I mean, you could say that the wing box there is a kind of a bit haphazardly put together. You can kind of see the markings there, but because it's black, you can't really see it, and then that's in shadow, so you can't really see it again, so it's not very noticeable. But yeah, I mean, apart from that, this model is absolutely amazing. And hang on, what are the wheels that don't roll? I don't even know. Is it the front one? Or the front one kind of rolls. And it's, oh yeah, it's these right ones here. Those are the ones that don't roll properly, and the front one kind of doesn't really roll. Yes, roll. But yeah, other than those things, this model is absolutely incredible. The best model which I have. The next model is the Gemini Jets Norwegian Air Boeing 737 MAX 8. This is actually Gemini Jet's first MAX 737 MAX release, and they did a pretty good job on it. The only things I will say about this, I mean, the model itself is actually done quite well. Really a fan of the engines and the skimiters as well. They're done very well. On some other planes they absolutely messed it up, but on this plane they did very well. All of the wheels roll again, so that's another plus. And the model itself is done nicely, as well as the livery. The only thing about this is that it is a fantasy model, which I don't like. They should have known what the registration and the actual tail hero was going to be, because this aircraft doesn't actually exist in real life. I've actually shown you the registration. I don't know if you can probably see that, but it is Lima November Mike Alpha X-ray. Trying to remember the phonetic alphabet there. Basically, Max in the three little letters past the LN which is the code for Norway, I believe. This was a fantasy model, and they could have actually done a proper model with this, and instead they decided to do it this way. I actually found out that Sonia Heaney, something like that, that's actually a tail which is on another plane in Norwegian's fleet on a 737-800. So as I said, this fantasy model doesn't work because of that, but I mean that's basically the only reason why I'm deducting points of it, really, because this is done very, very well. Probably my best 737, I'd say, because yeah, this is actually the fourth one. No, it's the fifth one which I have. Good God, why do I have so many of them? Don't even know. Well, in fact, this is one which I just got randomly. Again, one of the ones which I just got, and not one of the ones which I actually properly wanted, like the other 737 was, and the one at Duxford as well, really. So there's only basically that British Airways 737 was only really the one which I properly wanted. So I don't even know. But yeah, this model is done very, very well. Glad that I have it anyway, apart from the fact that it is a fantasy model. The next aircraft is the Gemini Jets KLM Cityhopper Fokker 70 in the Farewell Fokker scheme. Now, unlike the other KLM Cityhopper Fokker 70 which I have, this one has been very much improved, and it has ironed out almost all of the problems. In fact, pretty much all the problems, I think, that were on that other one. If you remember the emergency door, which wasn't on there, that is actually on this model. The engines also aren't, like, one isn't just sticking out randomly. Also, I took more care of this one, so the wing isn't rubbed off. And also all of the wheels roll, which is just an extra added bonus. They did actually update the mould for this, so they added antenna on the top. What else did they do? They changed the engines as well, made them much more realistic, and they added a little bit of grey shading there between the white and like the main silver bit of the back of the Rolls-Royce Tay. I mean, the only problems which I will say with this aircraft is that the cockpit is a little bit wrong. So on this side it does seem to be too small and pushed up a little bit, but on this side it just seems to be like too narrow from like the top and bottom. Again, that might just be me, but I'm pretty sure that's not right, and considering that I've seen the Fokker 70 quite a few times, I kind of know when it is a little bit different. One thing that which they did add on this model, other than the titles, they added, you might be able to see, I don't know, but they actually added little marks of the flap settings on the wing there, on the fairing even, which is actually a really nice detail because it actually is there on the Fokker 70, and I know it was there because I flew on the thing and saw it, so that was a really, really nice feature which they did. Overall, this is definitely a contender for one of the best models which I have. I reckon it's probably in the top 5, but again, like, I don't have a full massive list and ranking system for all these models, but this one is definitely the best small one which I have, Regional Jet, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, very nice model. You can still pick one up, I believe they're getting a bit more expensive and rare now, so if you can, pick this model up, it's very good. Sticking with KLM, the next aircraft is the Gemini Jets KLM Boeing 787-9. Now, I class this model as the inferior 787 which I own, that with the Air Canada one obviously being the better one, considering that it is my top model. But this model is quite nice, but there's a couple of things in a few areas which place this model lower than that Air Canada one. For a start, the things that's broken with it is this tail keeps on coming out, and yeah, that's kind of my damage with it. I can't remember how I knocked it off, but every time I glue it back in, it won't go back in, so I'm not going to ever glue it back in again if it can't come out. Also, none of the wheels roll, I don't think. All the front one does, but there's a couple of major problems with this. The first one is the wheels day. You can see that wheel there, the wheels are close together, which is how they're meant to be, and then for some reason on this one, they're massively far apart. I don't know why that is, but apparently that's just how they decided to do it. Also, there's another thing with the wing box, how it's put on, because there's no dark colours under the fuselage to conceal it. There's a massive gap which you can easily see going all the way around there on the wing box, and I don't like it that they do that. I wish it would be a much more slot-in system, like it is on the tailplane, where it's the fuselage and then the wings literally just slot in instead of it being an entire full section including the wing box and the fuselage just sits on top. It looks much worse that way. Other than those few things, I like the livery. The thing that sets this one apart from the other 787 model, the Air Canada one, is the fact that there's a SATCOM antenna there, or SATCOM dish, whatever, and that's for Wi-Fi, which KLM have on their 787s. But I mean, this is a model which is still quite nice. Yeah, there's just a few more problems with it than there are on the Air Canada one, so it's not getting close to the top spot. But this model is quite nice. Do like the livery. Do like the rest of the markings on it. Do love the new KLM livery. livery, one of my most favourite liveries, like of all time basically. So yeah, if you can find this model, go get it. It's quite nice. Next aircraft is the Gemini Jets British Airways Boeing 757-236. This model looks okay when you're looking at it from above like you are now, looking at the livery, but it's only when you start looking at the wheels that you begin to see why this model isn't exactly the best one which I have. It did come out in 2009, but I'm not going to give it as much leeway as I did with the Hapag-Lloyd 737, because they should really have upped their game by then on this kind of aircraft. So the most major issue is with this wheel here. As you can see, it's completely bent backwards, looks massively chunky, they've completely messed up the painting of the wheel there, and also they don't roll at all, none of them roll. And these back ones here, they look much more sturdy and they do look more realistic, but again, none of them roll, and they're literally just shoved in. You can easily see that they've just been placed in there. The wheels are not the best thing at all on this model, in fact the worst wheels on any 1400 model which I have, and that's including those Balair 767 wheels which were absolutely awful. And just made of plastic, but this, the livery is okay. The only thing I will say about it is that on the back here, you might be able to tell that that's quite pixelated. Just the Union Jack on the tail is very pixelated, which is a little bit annoying. And also, I think it's just me, but it seems like that the nose is a bit too flat on the top, and it should be more rounded than that. But other than the things wrong with the wheels, this is actually a quite nice model. I mean, there's the nice details of the Rolls-Royce logo on the RB211s there. The livery itself is done nicely. There's quite a few details on the top of the fuselage as well as underneath as well, which I do quite like. It's just that when you've got something like the wheels, which is one of the most integral part of the model, it doesn't exactly make it look good when you mess it up quite as badly as you do on this model. I mean, this model is quite rare. They did, I believe they did 2 Gemini Jets, they did 2 757s. This is the newer one, and apparently the older one's even worse, so I'm glad I got this one, but still, the wheel problems don't exactly make it the best model which I have. The next aircraft is the Gemini Jets UPS Boeing 747-8 freighter. This is the other 747-8 model which I own, but the only one that I really want to keep, and the better one as well as that. This one is actually probably, I believe, the last model which I got in that kind of category where I said, oh, I'm just going to get this model because I have the money to get a model, and didn't actually properly consider what I wanted. So on the cockpit and just around the front in general, the wheel seems to be bent back a little bit, but I don't know, I think that's me again. The nose also seems to be a bit too rounded, and because I have a Pan Am 747, sorry, you can even see it there, because I have a Pan Am 747-100, that completely has it correct. Also on the back as well, the hump seems to just not connect properly. It seems to be curving down and then just going straight on the fuselage, and I believe that's supposed to curve a little bit more, but I don't know, it might just go straight on, but as far as I know it doesn't. Also the engines, the GEnx engines, they actually are longer than they're supposed to be. I actually looked this up and found that the engines were much longer than they're supposed to be. I don't know why that is on this model, but yeah, it's not too noticeable. The thing that really sets this model apart from all the other 747s I have, however, is that the wings actually go straight into the fuselage rather than being in this bulky wing box, which just looks worse. This one they actually properly smooth, I mean on this wing it's done less well, but they tried to properly smooth the wing into the fuselage by actually attaching it on the side, and I don't know why they don't do that for every model. I mean, it might be more expensive to do it that way, but I don't know, this is just a much better way of doing it in my opinion. I don't know why they don't do that for all of their models, because, I don't know, it might be more expensive, but it does make it a lot higher quality, and I thought they're supposed to be about quality. Of course, it's got the nice gear tilt, which the 747 has, not as good as the Pan Am 747, but still quite nice nonetheless. The thing about this orange stripe down here is that I think that it's actually not gold enough. I don't know if it suffered from the hands of time or not, it seems to have in the light, but I believe that's supposed to be much golder than that. So it's supposed to be like an orangey gold colour, but on this it's basically just orange. And also the logo as well, I believe is supposed to be darker, but I don't know. And the brown also seems to need to be darker, but again, that might just be me. But yeah, I mean, other than that, this model is quite nice. If you want to pick it up, you could. It's got my recommendation. Not necessarily one which I massively wanted, but still quite good nonetheless. Definitely better than the other 747 which I have, which I definitely want to sell. The next aircraft is the Gemini Jets Austrian Austrian Airlines Fokker 100 in the Austrian Says Goodbye Fokker livery. Similar to the Fokker 70 with KLM in the Farewell Fokker liveries with the Anthony Fokker on the tail, Austrian Airlines did a similar thing when they retired their Fokker 100 around the same time actually. It was only a couple of months later. I think this model, I think has been done quite well. The only thing which is wrong with it is that it's actually kind of on the same level as the Fokker 70, although I will say it's just slightly below, and that's because the nose seems to be wrong. Again, like the 747, something you can't quite put your finger on, but you just know it's wrong. It's better on the Fokker 70. In fact, all the Fokker 70 models which I have, because I have 3, but on this one, it does seem to be wrong. Also, you can see there, the cockpit it's been squashed on that side, but on this side it's wider. Again, I don't know if you can see that, but that's definitely something which is noticeable and I don't really like. And also the reason why this one's placed lower is that for some reason, when they redid the Fokker 70 mold and the Fokker 100 mold, because they actually did Fokker 100 Gemini Jets quite a while back, but when they did this model, they decided not to put aerials on the top. But they did it for the Fokker 70, which I can't understand why, considering they basically came out in the same release. They did have these little knobbly things on top of here, which I think is something to do with navigation. I don't know, but I mean, apart from that, this does have quite a few nice features. And, oh yeah, there's something else that I found. I don't know if you can see, on the engine on the right-hand side of the aircraft, it's fine. But on the left-hand side, for some reason, the middle bit, which would be the spiral bit, I can't remember what it's actually called, has been painted blue. And the rest of the engine doesn't actually have the engine fan blades in. It's basically just a grey, great flush plate there. Which is annoying, and yeah. Again, another one of these details which you just see and you can't unsee. But I mean, apart from that, all of the wheels roll, as they did with the other Fokker 70, the Anthony Fokker one. So yeah, this model is slightly less good than the Anthony Fokker KLM Cityhopper one, but still quite good nonetheless. The next aircraft is the Gemini Jets Delta Bombardier CS100 or Airbus A320-100. At the time when I got this, it was called the CS100, so I'm going to still call this the CS100, because I'm kind of not really used to the A220 name, to be honest. But yeah, anyway, this model, you know when I said that the British Airways 757 was a contender for the worst model? This model looks alright on the top, and then when you go below, it is absolutely horrible, and I think it deserves to be pointed out, and it deducts massive points for this. The wheels are made of translucent plastic. They don't roll. They're not even the kind of glued-on ones that are on the British Airways 757. They are completely horrible, and they make a massive, massive spoil of this model. Also, on the nose as well, the nose is inconsistent with the fact that on one side the windows look like that, and on the other side they look like that. They seem bigger on one side than the other. Again, it's one of those things you can only just put your finger on. Still, I mean, there's also the tail. One of these tail flames keeps on coming off as well. It's just, like, this is definitely, for Gemini Jets in this day and age, they should not be releasing this type of model. Oh yeah, and I actually found out that this wasn't even Gemini Jets. This is actually, I believe, a Herpa model which they got this off of. So it isn't even theirs. They just slapped on a fancy livery like this. They made up a registration there. It's actually 101, November 101 Delta uniform, I believe. Not Delta November. Yeah, so many things wrong with this model, especially considering that this is Gemini Jets' first CS100 release that supposedly was supposed to set them up for many more models in the future. This doesn't put a good reputation on them. Definitely not one of the models which I consider you buying, and definitely one of the worst ones which I have, unfortunately, even though it came out at the same time as the Austrian Airlines Fokker 100. The next aircraft is the JC Wings Air France Régional Fokker 70. Yeah, the third Fokker 70 which I have in my collection. Yeah, this is definitely going to be the last one which I get. This was, I believe this was the last one which I got, where it was like one which I kind of really didn't massively want. But do you know why the reason why I got this? It's because the registration of this aircraft is Foxtrot Golf Lima India Sierra. And then that was then bought by KLM and it became Papa Hotel Kilo Zulu Sierra. Yeah, that was literally the reason why I bought this. Don't judge me, please. But yeah, anyway, this model is actually, considering that this came out, I believe, in 2009, this is actually quite a good model. There are quite a few things which I do like about it. The one thing which I will say about this is the wings look massively thicker, and also, this plane is actually taller than the other Fokkers. You might be able to tell, I don't know, if I just move the camera back a bit, and I just move this forward, you can tell that it actually sloops, whatever, yeah. It's actually much higher on the back wheels than it is on the front ones. And yeah, I mean the Fokker 70 does actually have that. If you look at the pictures for it from the front, again, put it in the description, it does actually tilt down, but not to that extent at all. So that's something which I didn't notice, but then when I actually lined it up with my other Fokker 70s, I definitely did notice. But this Fokker 70 actually has the best nose out of all of them, even though it's the oldest one. Somehow they managed to get it right, JC Wings, but Gemini Jets completely cocked it up. But 3 times it wasn't perfect. On the first one, which they screwed up massively, the one without the special livery, it was almost perfect but not quite. On the second one it was worse, and on this one it's much better even though it's much older. There you go, different manufacturers seem to have different methods of doing it. I do believe, however, how many of the wheels roll? Oh, just the front one. Yeah, deducting points for that straight away. Not all the wheels roll, at least the front one does. The engines do look a lot better. They do have some like fan blades in the middle, again, which I'm quite a fan of. They've got a nice APU on the side as well, and they've got a tiny little Fokker logo down there you might be able to see, and the EU logo up on the Air France logo as well, because this is the Air France older livery. But yeah, pretty happy with this model. Again, this is one which I shouldn't have really got. It was the last one of this kind of kind. But still, this model is quite well put together, considering that it is older than every other Fokker model which I have, so well done JC Wings. The next aircraft is the Gemini Jets KLM Cityhopper Embraer ERJ 190. And this is where the rarer models start coming in, considering that I had to go to a kind of backwater US website to try and get this model, because it wasn't on sale anywhere else. This one, I was kind of happy with it, but there are 2 things which are wrong with it. The first one is the nose. It seems to be wrong in some way. I think it's kind of a curved down. It should be much more straight down and then straight across. It's a bit like the Average nose, but on this one it's done a little bit worse. And also the livery as well. The blue seems to be a bit too bright. I think that, yeah, it might be just with age that it's kind of lightened, but it should be darker than that. That is a bit too bright for my liking. The damage that's been done to this model is that yeah, that wheel has come off. Unlike the Continental Airlines MD-82, which I've got, yeah, it just seems to have come off quite easily, so it's not really my fault. This is basically when I started to go, yeah, actually look after your models, because stuff like that's going to happen. So yeah, I do take a lot more care of them now. But other than those few things, I am quite happy with this model. I really like the way that they've done the Embraer winglets, which are absolutely spot on to what they are, considering that I flew on the ERJ 190, kind of know these. So this is actually one of the few planes that I've got in my collection which I've actually flown on. Got some nice details on the wings there, nice details on the tail with a nice APU at the back. They've also got this, whoa, if I can actually hold it, like some sort of fairing along the bottom of the fuselage there. Don't know what that's for, but it's definitely there in real life, and I like it. And they've got some massive, massive detail under here, which the Embraer has, which I'm very glad has been modelled. So yeah, as I said, this is some of the rarer models now coming through, but definitely one which I'm quite happy with, despite the wheel that's come off. The next aircraft is the Gemini Jets British Airways BAC 111 510ED. Now my camera seems to be going in and out of focus randomly for some reason. I don't know if it's been doing that the whole time, it might have been, but for some reason with this model I've only just noticed it. But yeah, we'll deal with that. This is another rare model which I've got, even rarer than the Embraer. I was going to say Fokker then. Yeah, very rare, much rarer than the Embraer. And this is the model which I was talking about, which actually has the right coloured speed wing. Remember when I said on the Trident and the, what was the other plane, the oh yeah, the 146, that the colour of the speed wing was wrong? This is the colour that it's meant to be. It's meant to be that bright, that prominent, just how it should be on the fuselage. On the tail as well, they've got it right. So this livery is actually absolutely perfect as well. In fact, no, it's not perfect. The only thing I will say is that this, what's that called? The coat of arms on the Embraer, on the Trident and the 146, that is actually gold. And proper shiny. On this one they've done it white, so yeah, it's kind of a little downside there, but other than that, with the fact that they've got the red, the right colour, kind of outweighs that. In terms of the model, all of the wheels roll. They don't look like they do roll, but they actually do. The only thing I will say is that the engine hush kits at the back, which are these little protruding things at the back here, that were put on to try and reduce the noise of the Rolls-Royce space, because they were pretty loud apparently. Yeah, they're kind of put on a little bit weirdly. What other things are wrong with it? Oh yeah, the cockpit, on one side it seems to be thicker than the other. It seems to be thicker on this side than it does on that side. That's the cockpit windows that I'm talking about. But again, minor details that I'm picking out here. I thought there was something wrong with the engines on the inside, but no, oh yeah, there is. Just realised. I don't know if I noticed that before, but on one side, this engine is much closer to the fuselage than that one. Again, one of those things that you're going to see and you're never going to unsee. Oh well, but I mean still, I think this is actually still much better than those other two Landor models which I have. And I'm hoping to get more in the future because this is one of my most favourite liveries. Very kind of sad that British Airways don't have any sort of retro livery in it. It would look good on some plane that they own, like the 777 or 747 or something like that. That looked amazing, but anyway, I digress. This model is, yeah, much better than the other two Landor ones which I have. The next model is the Gemini Jets KLM McDonnell Douglas MD-11. Now this is the rarest of the rarest of the rarest of the rarest of the models that I've got. Literally, this was the last one on the last website that I ever found trying to look for this. I'd scoured all of the internet to find this. I finally found one from the South African retailer that I finally managed to get it. This was a Gemini Jets release from, I believe, 2014, but it still does look quite good. The wheels, for some reason, they're much different to other Gemini Jets models. On their other Gemini Jets models, they seem to stick, but on these ones, there's no sort of way that they could stick. They're properly done, they all properly roll, very happy with them. The only thing I will say about them is that I don't know if you can tell, again, this is going to be one of the things where I have to move the camera out so you can actually see. If I just bring that down, I don't know if you can see, but the wheel, the middle wheel of the fuselage, see that middle one there? That doesn't quite touch. Can you see that? I don't know if you can see that, but in real life, it's like half touching, but not quite, if you know what I mean. It's not sitting properly, although it is kind of sitting down. This model is very, very few things wrong with it. The only thing that was broken with it was the tail and the tailplane, none of which have come off since I've glued them back on, so I'm guessing that was in transit when they came off, so yeah, not really my damage, to be honest. But there's also, on the back, a bit that's come off of the engine there. If I just bring it closer, you might be able to see. That's been chipped. And I remember after I unboxed it, I actually found a little bit of it that had come off, and I literally just flicked it off my desk, just boom, because I thought that it was just a random bit of, like, random thing that was on my desk, and I was like, no, that's just something that I just flicked off, like, while I was watching a video or something, and then I realised, that's off the back of the MD-11, and now I can't find it at all, so that's going to be lost forever. And unfortunately, much like that Embraer wheel, which I've been scouring for and can't find, and the Trident wheel, which I've been scouring for and can't find, that's just going to be one of the things where I'm just going to have to accept that's been lost. But, I mean, apart from that, this model has been done quite well. I really like the way that the engines have been done, apart from that one in the back, but that was kind of my fault that I lost that. Not that I broke it, but still. The skimiters are done nice, as I said, the engines are done nice. Livery, again, it's kind of a bit like the Embraer, that it's a little bit too bright, but this one is a bit darker than that one, so this one isn't too bad, but yeah, I would rather it be a little bit darker, but still quite nice. And a bit like the Hogan models, I think the windows should be a little bit darker than they are, but still, that's definitely bearable, much more bearable than those ones are. But yeah, this is definitely one of my most treasured models. The fact that I managed to get it for as cheap as I did in the like compared to how rare this model is yeah, I was very lucky to do that. Coming towards the end now, we have the Phoenix ANA Airbus A380 in the special Kai Sea Turtle scheme. Definitely one of the best liveries that I have on a model, and also one of the best models in terms of the actual like design of the mould itself. This was the first Phoenix model which I got, and this is the model that kind of converted me from Gemini Jets to Phoenix, considering that Phoenix are cheaper and they also seem to have higher quality. The only few things that are wrong with this model is the fact that the wheel doesn't touch, which is kind of annoying. And what were the other problems? I can't remember. Oh yeah, the turtle eye. On the blue one, the light blue one, it's open, but on this one, it's actually meant to be closed. Again, I'll put in the description what it's actually meant to be. It's meant to be closed, it's not meant to be open. I'm guessing that they just took that design and just changed the colour of it without actually properly looking at that, because that has actually changed, but I mean, still, this model is absolutely amazing, apart from those couple of minor details. I didn't actually find anything else wrong with it after that unboxing video. I mean, everything else is literally absolutely exemplary. Definitely one of my best models. Second place, I'm basically saying with this. Second place to the Air Canada 787, but nothing can beat that because that is literally 99% perfect. But this one does have a problem with the wheel, which I can't ever get away from, and the fact that that eye is meant to be closed. But if you just don't look at that bit of the model there, then the model is very, very good. Also, which I didn't actually show you because I didn't know at the time. Should I do it with a pen? Yeah, why not? I won't break it. These engines are also see-through like the Hogan ones, but they actually spin. If I can actually move them. Can you see that? They actually spin. What is the magic of that Phoenix? Oh my god, I'm definitely getting Phoenix now. But yeah, the engines actually spin, fan blades actually spin. That's a very nice novelty which they've done on a 1 to 400 scale aircraft. You would think that'd be on like 1 to 200 or something, not 1 to 400. But I mean, as I said, like, pick anything with this model apart from the few things that I've mentioned, and it's absolutely amazing. Livery's done amazingly. Yeah, just absolutely everything. Really good. Love this model. That's why I'm doing Phoenix now. Just get it if you haven't got it already. Now the final model at the time of recording, because I'll definitely be getting more in the future, is the Phoenix Air Belgium Airbus A340-300. Now at the time of recording I literally only just got this today, so I'd imagine that I'm uploading the unboxing video and then I'm doing this video afterwards. Since I did that unboxing video, I haven't really found many problems with it. I can go through the problems which were with it again. One of the things, in fact, oh yeah, I did find one. One of them is that it doesn't sit quite on this wheel. Here, I believe that's the right one it doesn't quite sit on. Whoa, I just knocked my light by accident. Again, if I just bring this out and bring this forward here, sorry for the mess which is over there. As you can see, it doesn't quite sit on there. I don't know what Phoenix has with wheels not properly sitting down, but yeah, it's much better. That's much more bearable than having the front one not touch. This one does actually touch. But yeah, some of the other problems were the that I mentioned in the unboxing video was that the black along the front here, the little mask that it has around the fuselage cockpit windows. There we go. Fuselage. Yes, around the cockpit windows, it seems a little bit too thin, but again, that might just be me. Also, this antenna on the top here, I don't know if you can see that, but it's bent to the side a little bit. And I believe there was one on the underneath that had that problem as well. Oh yeah, that one there. I think I showed in the unboxing video, but for some reason those two are bent. The engines are there. You can just see how they're put on. You can see there's kind of gaps where they've slotted into place, but when you look at them from this angle, you can't really see it. It's only if you're looking at it from behind, like properly like that. Even like that, you can't really tell. It's only really when you're properly looking underneath it. So again, I mean, that's a detail which is bearable. Phoenix seem to have problems with it still, but these ones are much less noticeable. I mean, definitely on this model anyway, the Phoenix A380 was a slight exception to that. But I mean, this model is perfect. Other than that, I really like the livery which they've done on it. The rest of the mold is absolutely exemplary. I just love the Air Belgium livery in general, which is we'll round out this massively long review video that I've done. So yeah, that is all the 1 to 400 scale models which I have. I haven't actually counted how many that I've done, but considering, if I just look at the playlist behind me, I have 52 unboxing videos, and the 1 to 400 models make up the bulk of that, so I'd imagine that I've got nearly 50 1 to 400 models now, which is quite an achievement, I would say. Expect many more in the future. There's definitely one that I've got my eyes on that I want to get, which I'm probably is going to be my next one, and it's actually going to be a Gemini Jets one, because I'm still sticking with my rule. Shush. This is a very good model, as were a lot of my other models, and I've got a tickly cough as well. This video has actually been recorded over the course of 2 days. Anyway, let's actually end this video before it goes on for even longer than it probably has already. So thank you very much for watching this very long video, and I'll see you in the next one if you decide to do that one as well. Bye!